If you have not seen Jurassic World Rebirth, do not watch this video because it has a whole ton of spoilers and you will ruin this amazing movie for yourself possibly. As well, also there are spoilers for the Lost World Jurassic Park novel, so if you have not read that and would like to in the future, then maybe don't watch this video as well. Also, this video is super long and I don't know why anyone would like to watch this, but I just wanted to put my thoughts about the movie on the internet. Okay, end of disclaimer. I have seen Jurassic World Rebirth twice and let me tell you, I love this movie. So it's finally time to share my thoughts about the movie with you and thus conclude my Jurassic World Rebirth videos finally. And so hello everyone, Vron Ross here, and let's finally go through my bingo card. Well, let me just start by saying that, this movie format is something I just enjoy a lot. Things like Congo, things like King Kong, where like group of people goes into some like wilderness with dangerous animals and they try to like make some discovery and do something like that. I really enjoy those things. Jurassic World Rebirth is not a new movie format. It's not like, an entirely new, never heard of story. It's nothing incredibly novel, but it tries to do, this tried and true story of like, scientists and other people trying to discover something new and unknown among strange, mysterious things, and it does it really, really well in my opinion. But let's go through the things we have discussed in the previous video. Something is reborn. Well, unfortunately, I have been thinking about it. Like, there is nothing like explicitly said, like, okay, it's time to like rebirth the dinosaurs. It's time to do something. I've been like trying to do some thinking, maybe it's like hidden or something, but it really does not seem to be that way. I was like, the best thing I came up with, like, the public's interest in dinosaurs, because like Dr. Loomis says that people don't really care about dinosaurs anymore, we're told that, but it seems like a real stretch. I mean, it does seem that by making a cure to like heart disease, using dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals, public's interest in them could be something that is reborn, and I think I will stick with that interpretation, but I think it's too big of a stretch to like justify this title. It just seems like the franchise itself is trying to be reborn, which is like good, but doesn't justify the title really in my opinion. A loose sequel, its own movie, that is absolutely right. This thing is a standalone film. I totally like that, because it's just, you could go and watch this movie without previously having watched any of the Jurassic movies. So it's a great thing that they did. It's a story that like begins in this movie and it ends, it concludes in this movie. I was so happy about that. Don't Indominus the D.rex. Totally great. What they did with the D.rex in the end, I think I really liked it. It was just another of those creatures, There was just, they encountered creatures along the way, animals, they encountered, the T-Rex, the Spinosaurus, the Quetzalcoatlus and so on, they just encountered them, and those Mutodons as well as the D-Rex, they were just another creature they encountered, with the, D-Rex being probably the most dangerous one of them all, and how they, just escaped it. That's what they did. They didn't like try to kill it or anything. The way they did that, I was very, very satisfied how they concluded the whole D.rex thing without, going through some outlandish dinosaur battle again. I'm so tired of them, and I'm glad, they were just people trying to survive and they managed to barely escape the D.rex, and they did it. This Delgado family makes sense. I will have to agree with that, I mean, trying to like include such characters in a movie like that is not something easy in my opinion, and the way they did it with the Mosasaurus attacking their boat as well at the similar time and them sending out a mayday, a distress call. I don't know why they used mayday instead of SOS. I thought like in maritime SOS is more standard and mayday is standard in aviation, but hey, I'm just babbling right now. No, the way they introduced them, I don't really think they could have been introduced in any better way. They were just people like from a shipwreck that the Mosasaurus caused, and it made sense. They were trying to find the Mosasaurus, Krebs and the others, and they were attacked by the Mosasaurus at the same time. So, in my opinion, yes, it does make sense how they are introduced. I mean, it's a bit weird how they like become separated. Just they meet at the beginning, the two groups. Then they get separated and then they meet again at the end. I mean, we have like an A plot and a B plot in the movie, so it does work in my opinion. Like, I enjoy the way they did it. Okay, a proper major death. Absolutely, you know, all the deaths in the movie, I mean, there were just a couple of them, like, there were like 4 major deaths out of the characters. We had firstly Atwater being eaten by the Spinosaurus. Then we had, what was her name? Nina, right? Nina is the only minifigure we don't really have like a minifigure of, so that's actually a bit weird. I don't know why they didn't include Nina in like the boat set, so that is a bit unfortunate. She is the second death. Then, third, we have Leclerc with the Quetzalcoatlus. Like, that was brilliant. I absolutely wanted to see that in Dominion, and unfortunately we did not have that. But it was so, what do you call it, disgusting the way Leclerc died. Like, he was swallowed. I totally wanted to see that, and it was awesome. And then Krebs finally got what he deserved with the D-Rex. You know, D-Rex needed to get a big kill, and he got Krebs. The way he just, you know, bit him off, that was great. And I mean, those were like the 4 major character deaths. And also we had, you know, the people from the helicopter die, as well as in the prologue we had, you know, in the lab, this guy being eaten by the D-Rex. So yes, we had a nice amount of deaths, and like they all felt impactful. Like, I mean, would I have liked if one of those characters died, probably Ruben would be the only one possible to kill off. They would not kill off any of those. Yeah, if Ruben died, I think that would have been a lot more impactful as well. And actually, in the end, Duncan. I think I would have preferred Duncan to be eaten in the end, to like really sacrifice himself with the D-Rex. It's not like absolutely necessary, but I think it would have been slightly better if he actually did die. It would have also concluded his character a bit more, you know. All he wanted, he like promised to keep the kids safe because, you know what, because of what happened to his own kid. So I think that would have been a lot more impactful if he did die. But hey, I am okay with how they did it. I mean, the ending would have been a lot more sad with Duncan's death, I suppose. But in my opinion, probably a bit stronger. But you know, the fact is, like, it was kind of obvious they would kill off like more of like the side characters like Atwater, Leclerc, and of course the evil Krebs at the end as well. So that was a bit obvious, nothing like too surprising, but like the way they handled those deaths, like it wasn't a major plot twist with any of the deaths, but the way they just handled them was very good in my opinion. Like this was so disgusting, and thus it was a really compelling scene in my opinion. Okay. 3 biggest dinosaurs clarification. Yes, if they did that in the movie, I think it would have been perfect. I think this is my only major issue with the movie. That is my only thing, because we have Dr. Henry Loomis, probably my new favorite, yes, definitely my new favorite character of all the Jurassic movies, Dr. Henry Loomis. Among my favorite characters in fiction of all time, probably. And he's a paleontologist, and he doesn't explain that the Mosasaurus is not a dinosaur. I mean, he says that Quetzalcoatlus is the largest pterosaur. I mean, first of all, that's a bit like dubious. It could be Hatzegopteryx, it technically could be Aramburgiania, so hey, but I get that simplification. Also, unfortunately, yeah, they did choose to say Titanosaurus specifically, so that's something I'm not really happy about. But he says nothing about Mosasaurus being, you know, a squamate, being just a close relative of lizards or snakes. He doesn't, I mean, he says a snake-like body, right? He doesn't say it's very closely related to snakes. If you watch the movie, you get the impression that those are 3 large dinosaurs. I mean, he says, but from what he says, it implies that pterosaurs are dinosaurs. So that is my biggest issue with the movie. If they just clarify that, I think it would be absolutely perfect, this movie. But hey, okay, not too many references. At first, I was worried. I was very worried because they started off the movie with a close-up of a mirror of Krebs' face, of a car mirror, and saying objects in mirror are closer than they appear, right? That's a clear reference to Jurassic Park. So I was immediately worried. Then we had the school bus saying Crichton High School, and I was like, oh no, 2 references so close together. But then I realized, you know, the Crichton High School, that's a reference for like real fans of the whole series. So I'm actually really glad that they referenced Michael Crichton. And then like two big references, what I think are like Titanosaurus is a bit of a reference to Brachiosaurus with, you know, people being like, wow, a huge sauropod. So that's a bit of a similarity again, but I think that can pass because, well, they are... The Titanosaurus scene was just great, okay? All the scenes were amazing. And then like another big scene with Mutodons, and big reference was with Mutodons when they like showed like similar to the kitchen scene, right? When the Mutodons were at the gas station walking around with the Delgado family, and that was a clear reference to the Velociraptors. So at first I was worried there were going to be too many, but no, thankfully they did not do too many of them. In my opinion, like maybe like one too many, but I think I'll let it slide. Maybe like a smaller cross, but yeah, no, I'm fine with it. You know, the amount is okay. Okay, don't ruin Krebs. I know I said don't make him a twist villain. And they did. They totally made him like an evil guy. But frankly, it really works for me. The way they did it absolutely works. I suppose it's just because I absolutely adore the plot of those three samples, the three DNA samples, the three blood samples they want to get, and how like Krebs is like the evil guy from a corporation that just wants to get all the money. And then in the end, what the good guys, what Loomis wants to do and what he tries to convince Zora to do is they want to open source it. And I mean, I'm totally for this plot. I absolutely love this because of the fact that, you know, I mean, for example, when I look for scientific articles and a lot of them are blocked behind a paywall and they're not open sourced, that's extremely annoying. And the way that they want to make everything open source, that is really good. So they made Krebs a villain, which initially I didn't want to, but the way they made him a villain, the way they handled him, I really liked him. And in the end, he got what he deserved, and they got the case, so it was great. Okay, no TV introduction. Unfortunately, they failed that one. Yeah, I mean, we had sort of like 3 introductions. First, we had like, you know, introduction through text on the screen, so I was like, okay, sure, do that, like remind everyone what happened, that's fine. You know, Star Wars has the opening crawl sequence, so I guess that's fine. But then they did it again with like, you know, Krebs and Zora explaining everything to each other while they were driving, and then like Loomis explaining it again in the museum. And in the museum they showed like, you know, an educational video which explains how you know the world is right now. So they sort of explained everything like 3 or 4 times, and unfortunately they did use like, you know, an exposition video, an educational video in a museum. So I think it could have been handled better, and they didn't need to repeat it 3 times. Okay, I get. Okay, if someone comes to this movie, maybe that is something, you know, to it, the movie being its own movie, it being a standalone movie. Okay, if you go to it without any prior knowledge of Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, I guess you could maybe need the explanation being said like 3 times. So I guess there is that, but I wasn't too happy with the way the plot was introduced to us. Okay, nice characters moments, yes, I was so happy with what we got. Like the whole boat sequence, it was adorable. It was like the moment, for example, just nice shots of like the boat just cruising along the Atlantic. That was brilliant. The way like the whole scene with like Loomis and Bennett, like Zora and Henry, just sitting down at the stern of the boat, and like storm going on in the background, and I'm just sitting and talking again, like Zora and Duncan talking inside of the boat, as well as later when the Delgado family were getting close to the complex, the like the whole facility on their little raft. And it was just a nice little, you know, sunset, the amphibian walking down the tree. It was gorgeous. And like the way, like, yeah, when they set up a campsite, the whole family, and they were just talking, you know, you know, how, what's his name? Ruben was just talking to Xavier. Okay, Xavier was so annoying in the beginning. And then as time went on, he just became a better guy. So that was, yeah, I think that's really nice. as well as how, you know, the whole, like, the team led by Zora and by Henry, as well as Krebs and Leclerc, how they were going through the jungle, and, you know, they through the swamp, and they were just talking to each other. That was really a lot of so much fun, and we had a really good amount of character development. You cannot argue with that. Like and like, you know, the character arcs. We had, you know, Zora, who was like in it only for the money, but she was like, okay, it's time to do something good, and in the end, what they do with all the samples, yeah, that was great. As well as Duncan, like I said, with, you know, protecting the kids. That was brilliant, and I cannot stress this enough. I absolutely love this, and the gorgeous shots, especially of the boat. The whole boat sequence, it was so long, but I was very happy with it. I was happy that they didn't like cut it and make it like, okay, we just go to the island using the boat and it's just a mode of transportation. No, the whole boat is very lively, you know, like Leclerc and Nina just making dinner. It was very organic. You could just feel those characters, you know, they were just having fun during the mission, as much as you can have in such a dangerous situation. Okay, I'm babbling too much. More herbivores than shown. Okay, except for like Aquilops and Titanosaurus, we didn't have too many herbivores. Like, we had a dead Parasaurolophus, we had an Ankylosaurus in the end, you know, with the Krebs in the car, and we had also, what was it? I don't know what it was. Oh, we had an Apatosaurus in the beginning, right? So we did have more herbivores, technically true, but also the amount of presence that Titanosaurus got in the movie, with a huge herd like that. How can an island sustain such a huge herd? I don't know, but apparently it can. Yeah, it seems like this Saint Hubert, or whatever it was called, is really huge. So yes, I mean, technically correct with more species, like I think 3 more species, unless I'm forgetting anything right now. Let me know in the comments. If anyone is even watching all of my babbling, then please let me know in the comments if I forgot any herbivores. But the amount of presence that Titanosaurus had in the movie absolutely justifies me crossing this one off. Okay, a memorable soundtrack. Alexandre Desplat did a really nice job with the soundtrack. I really enjoyed it. Like, Boat Chase is probably my favorite track, or among the favorite tracks. There's also this really nice motif, like a bit similar to the main Jurassic Park theme. A very short one, like just a couple of notes. It's similar to the main one, but it's slightly different. And I think for me that is going to be like the Jurassic World Rebirth main, like the main theme for it one, for like the main motif from the movie. And also, like, okay, the amount of times the Jurassic Park theme itself played was probably a bit too many for my liking. Like, first of all, with, like, you know, the plane flying into Suriname, was it? I think Suriname, right? Or Guyana, French Guyana. No, I think it was Suriname. That when the plane flew in, and they played the theme, it was like, okay, that's unnecessary. With the Titanosaurus, I think it was justified because it was a very glorious scene. At the boat, when Henry and Zora were talking, they played the theme also, so that wasn't necessary, I suppose, but it was nice, it was very soft. And then again, I think at the very end, right? At the very end, the Jurassic Park theme was played, so I think they used it a bit too much. I think I would have preferred it to be a bit, you know, maybe to be used like once at some point, but I think that's just my personal preference. I think it works like movie-wise because they still want to keep it connected to the other movies, right? They do want that. I'm just a person who just wants for it to be a very standalone film, but hey. Loomis and Bennett, I am so happy how they handled these two. Like, the way how they did this, you have huge amount of really nice chemistry between the two. Like, the amount of interactions they get and all that, I was satisfied. Okay, I already told you that I ship these two characters, but I totally get people who would be like, okay, romance is unnecessary. You don't need to pair every, you know, male and female characters to make a couple of them. And I know you don't, I just really like this dynamic. I totally ship this, like, you know, scientific dinosaur nerd guy as well as a strong female character. For me, this just works really well, and they handled it amazingly. Like, for people who don't want romance, I mean, you don't really have any romance, but it does seem to me like there's a little amount of flirting between them, right? And just the amount of character, like, interactions they have, and what interactions they have, to me, like, you know, they just, the how they just talk to each other, how they, you know, share thoughts, and all of that. It's really amazing, and I totally love these two. And, you know, like, in my opinion, they do get together after the movie, and I can totally see that happening. But if you don't want to see that happening, you can interpret it any other way you want to. I think the way they handled it was amazing, not only for me as a person who ships them. I'm sorry, I know it's weird, okay? I know it's weird, but I do. But it's great for me because I can interpret it that way. There was a bit of flirting, there totally was. But if you don't like that happening, you can see them just as being, you know, nice friends, people who just got to know each other and they just enjoy each other's company. So that is really good. Okay, something educational in the movie. Dr. Loomis is absolutely my new favorite character of all time. And yes, there was the main plot of the movie, right? Is okay. It's weird how they just retconned it. In Dominion, dinosaurs are everywhere. And then now they're like, okay, but they went extinct again. It's a bit, you know, they just can't make up their own mind, okay? So that's a bit stupid, but how they handled it, they said that everything has changed since the Mesozoic, and I think that's a brilliant way to just introduce people to the fact that, yes, in the past, Earth looked different. Okay, I've seen, BestInSlot talking about how oxygen levels is not a brilliant idea, the oxygen levels, because they say that oxygen levels during the Mesozoic were higher, and now that's why dinosaurs survived near the equator, because that's where there is more oxygen. Okay, first of all, I am sorry I have not, I would like to dive more into this topic, but I just haven't had the time to, like, read through, like, some nice scientific articles. From what I seem to have gathered so far, it seems that studies suggest that the oxygen levels through the Mesozoic could have been lower than current, could have been similar to current, or could have been, like, you know, varied through time. The Cretaceous could have had more oxygen. And I mean, most of these animals are from the Cretaceous, actually, so that does make sense. If it comes to present oxygen levels, the thing that BestInSlot, I will link his video, okay? BestInSlot said that oxygen levels are actually, I mean, colder air near the poles should have more oxygen in it. Frankly, like I'm saying, I have not had the time to do a lot of research about that. But another factor that's important, there is so much more vegetation near the equator in the jungle, right? So probably oxygen levels could be slightly higher, but I think in general everywhere you just have 21%. So I don't think it's too much of a difference. So probably, like, mentioning oxygen amounts, like oxygen levels, as the reason why dinosaurs are surviving near the equator is probably not the best idea on the movie part. But, like, in general, the fact that climate has changed, insects have changed, vegetation has changed. Like, the vegetation is entirely different. Like, okay, in the Cretaceous you did have grass, right? You did have grass in the Cretaceous, but like, most of dinosaurs were non-avian dinosaurs in the Mesozoic were not used to grass. You know, like, only, like, what do you call them? Like, hadrosaurs developed that ability to consume grass, I'm pretty sure, later in Cretaceous. So the fact that they just mention, like, yeah, current world is not suited for animals from, like, 70 million years in the past, 100 million years in the past. The world has changed. Like I'm saying, the oxygen levels probably not the best point to focus on. Possibly true, absolutely, but everything else, that's totally right. And those animals, they were adapted to an alien Earth, right? They were adapted to the Earth of the past, not the current one. So I can totally see that being true. That, and yes, in the Cretaceous you had the hot house, right? Currently we're living in an ice house. Like, the temperatures are very much lower. I'm not saying that there weren't dinosaurs who were adapted to the polar regions. Of course there were dinosaurs adapted to the polar regions, but the fact is that generally the temperatures were much higher, the sea level was much higher, so the tropical band near the equator does make sense as a refuge for most of the dinosaurs in general. And just raising awareness about this fact that the climate has been different in the past, and it has been changing and it will be changing, is a brilliant thing in the movie. And all the lines of Dr. Loomis, like him saying, like, talking about how humans don't really control the Earth, we're just another animal who lives on its surface. I just really like that all of the like I just love Dr. Henry Loomis. Okay, if I personally were any character in any of the Jurassic movies, I would probably be him. I agree with a lot of, not everything probably what he's saying, but a lot of the things that he does say in the movies. So I just identify with him a lot. So there is that. Okay. Titanosaurus is interesting. Sorry, I have been rambling for so long. Titanosaurus was brilliant. The way, they showed Dr. Loomis finally achieving his dream of like interacting with real, huge, gorgeous dinosaurs in the wild, and how they just showed them, they were just sleeping and they woke up and they were just, enjoying each other's company, those Titanosaurs, they were doing a little mating dance or whatever. It was gorgeous how they just portrayed this Titanosaurus. I could not agree. I didn't, I know, by it being interesting, I didn't mean like an action sequence of like Titanosaurus rampaging and, destroying, killing everyone. No, I did not need, sure it would have been interesting to see like, sauropod rampage, but I don't think that was necessary. The way they just show them as gorgeous, majestic creatures, it was, I think it was better than in Jurassic Park, Yeah, Brachiosaurus was majestic in Jurassic Park, but this was better, in my opinion. And finally, a satisfying ending. Totally. This ending was absolutely satisfying, especially, like, I adore the plot of developing a cure and those 3 samples, and how in the end they decide to do something really, really good with them. As well as, just the ending in general was very, very satisfying, and I was so happy with it, and I absolutely adored this movie. This 3 biggest dinosaurs is my only nitpick out of the movie. Like, if they clarified that, it would have been probably perfect. Except for that, I absolutely love everything else about it. And it doesn't really have anything like, the whole boat sequence. The boat sequence was absolutely new and stunning. The Mosasaurus was a huge... it's unfortunate it didn't get any kills, but it just got a huge amount of things to do in the movie with the boats. It was glorious how much Mosasaur we had in the movie. And the movie does a lot of new things, but there's a ton of references to the novels, like the Jurassic Park novel and the Lost World novel. From the Jurassic Park novel, we of course have the thing that the whole climate and everything is different, and dinosaurs are not suited to this. They will not survive in this environment because they're adapted to an alien Earth of the past. So that's a thing from the original novel, as well as the whole Tyrannosaurus with the raft scene, and they adapted it really nice here. It was different, of course. It was different than in the novel, but it was great how they just handled it. Oh, and also, yes, there were Dilophosaurus by the river, just like in the novel. So that's great. I just realized that. Yes, they showed a brief cameo of a Dilophosaurus near the river, and in the novel we also had that. And then there was so many references to the Lost World novel, and I it's probably my favorite novel of all time, The Lost World, Jurassic Park. And so the amount of just things that we saw being referenced, like the whole car sequence in the end, with Zora hiding underneath the car with the evil guy, with Krebs, who was similar to Dodgson, and then him leaving her, and then the car, him escaping the car, and then car falling down somewhere due to Ankylosaurus. That was similar to also a thing from the Lost World novel. The whole complex with the gas station, and dinosaurs, the dangerous dinosaurs being there at night, similar to Carnotaurus being there at night in the Lost World, as well as the whole ending with them escaping on a boat, like in the Lost World novel. The amount of references to the Lost World is great. They chose so many great aspects from the novels that were not shown in the movies previously. And also incorporated some new amazing things like the Mosasaurus and the Quetzalcoatlus and the Spinosaurus attacking the boat. So, yes, the amount you could say that those are you could be oh, but Warner Bros, you didn't want too many references, but you had so many references to the novels. Yes, but they were adaptations, more we've never seen them on screen. It's not like they made references to the Lost World movie. No, they made references to the Lost World novel. they just used material from Crichton's novels. They used so much unused things, and it was amazing. Of course, the whole helicopter scene with like the helicopter who was like supposed to just, you know, come and hover for 2 minutes and then leave. That's a thing from The Lost World as well, and it was brilliant. It was very action-packed, the scene. Like Loomis almost missed the helicopter. Like I remember reading the novel and being so like, it was so disappointing how they missed the helicopter. And here he almost missed, and then he managed to get the helicopter, and then D.rex attacks. Okay, I don't know how big the D.rex is. Like it managed to like chomp on the helicopter, but then it seemed to be like huge, but like more regular size. I don't really know how big D.rex was, but it seems like it was huge. But you get a lot of emotions, a lot of action, as well as a lot of nice scenes from the movie. It's just perfect. Like the balance is great. Like probably the humor is the only thing that was, in my opinion, okay, but it depends. Like the aqueduct was so cute. Like the way it just fell down in the backpack. Yeah. Some of the humor landed for me, some of it didn't. Like Xavier's character was a bit meh in moments. Like he was trying to be like comedic relief, but it didn't really work too well for me. But he wasn't like, okay, in the beginning he was very annoying, but then he wasn't like too annoying, if you know what I mean. Lego sets, they were brilliant. Lego sets are brilliantly, you know, adaptations of the movie. Of course, there are some differences. Like for example, I mean, we get 2 raptors. And yeah, we also see 2 raptors in the movie for a brief scene. Okay, that scene with Xavier, it was stupid. Okay, it was a bit stupid. I know. Okay, the humor wasn't too perfect for me, especially in that scene with him going and like being stalked by the raptors, and then the raptor being killed by the Mutodon. The raptors were essentially just replaced with Mutodons, and I have no issue with that. But like the way we just have like 2 raptors, and like 2 raptors appear in the movie for like I don't know, less than half a minute, right? So we have no Mutodons and we have no D.rex, and I think that's like good because they didn't spoil it. And I personally don't need like mutant dinosaurs because I just use them, you know, in my own videos as real dinosaurs, so I don't really need the mutant ones. But it is a bit unfortunate how they are lacking. So hopefully we will get like 2 sets or like 1 set with D.rex and Mutodon. But we'll see in the future how that goes. But like the sets and like the amount of things we got, like this car is just brilliant. The boat, like I said in the previous video, it's sad that it's not bigger, but hey, it's good. So there's just the things, as well as the gas station. It's totally almost the same thing as we see in the movie. So that is great. I do love this movie. Is it my new favorite movie? I don't think so, but it's definitely among my favorite movies of all time. Like, it's really difficult to say which one is the favorite one, but yeah, it's certainly among them. And as you can see, we have a bingo, we have 3 bingos, we have 4 bingos, unless I'm counting wrong. We have at least 4 bingos. So it just shows how much I personally am satisfied with the movie. Did you enjoy the movie? Let me know in the comments, because I can totally see why some people would not enjoy it, but I personally absolutely did, and it seems to be among my favorite ones, and it certainly will be in the future. So well, I think that's enough rambling. It's been too long. Thank you everyone very much for watching, and as always, have a nice day.